fans out there.
Let's get it from a forte up to what's the double forte called?
Mazza piano, something like that?
Yeah, there you
I
go.
can't really remember.
I haven't played band in so long, but I
Yeah,
just remember
that's,
forte, loud as
yeah.
possible. All right,
Yeah, it's been a while since I've had to use those terms. I didn't think I'd be bringing them out tonight,
all
but
right.
hey, here
Well,
we
let's
are.
get loud, man.
Yeah.
Let's get loud. Who do you got coming in at number 16?
Okay, number 16, coming off a really impressive comeback win over the Seattle Seahawks, Tennessee Titans. They looked like they were dead and gone in this game, and they somehow found a way to come back. Derrick Henry, this guy is a beast. 237 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Tannehill had some nice moments in this game as well. Um, Really impressive win. I think I maybe had them drop a little bit too far in the rankings last week, but this is a team I really liked over the last couple seasons. I'm not sure if they're the same team, but certainly an impressive win on Sunday.
Yeah, what was most impressive to me is they're down by 20 points in the second half, and they didn't panic. They didn't start throwing the ball like all over the field. What they do, they turned and handed to King Henry. I can't. And like I was kind of looking in the back, like I was passively watching the game because the Chiefs was I was getting ready for the Chiefs game.
Sure.
And I'm like, are they just consented like losing this like this game? And the next thing you know is in freaking overtime. I'm like, what the hell is going on? But yeah, I mean, coming in at number 16, I mean that's pretty solid, and they do have a pretty good test this week versus the Colts. So I'm anxious to see how that's going to pan out. So who you got coming in at number 15?
Okay, number 15, the highest risers this week. Extremely impressive win, a big upset. Carolina Panthers. They just shellacked the New Orleans Saints 26-7. This defense looks for real. Phil Snow, underrated defensive coordinator. They've got some guys flying around out there. Sam Darnold's looked pretty impressive through 2 games as well. Obviously, CMC gets a lot of the fantasy love, but they've got some downfield targets as well. Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore as well. I'm not saying this is a real contender, but I think they're a lot better than people think. I think I like them more than most. And I've been hearing reports out of this team even before the season started that they're going to be better. I really believe in Matt Rule. He turns teams around. He did it at Temple. He did it at Baylor. I think he could do it in the NFL as well.
Yeah, and and obviously he has proven this, and many people they're already jumping on this Panthers team saying, "Oh, I had them since week 2 or since like week 1, yada yada yada." They're going to be great, but they do have a true test coming up this week, and like I'm kind of concerned about the Saints just because they come out firing off on all cylinders versus the Packers. Like obviously the Packers were misfiring on like everything. So we'll see where your Saints land. Actually, yeah. No, so the Saints, you had them fall way down to number 18. So we've already posted that. So was that win versus the Saints that good? I mean, like we will obviously see moving forward. But you said the Panthers are the highest riders as they should be. Coming in at number 14, who do you got?
I got another team that's on the rise, seemingly the Denver Broncos. I didn't want to push them up too far for beating the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I have as a bottom 2 team in the NFL right now. But they're getting the job done. They've only allowed 13 points in each of their first 2 games. Teddy Bridgewater's been efficient. They've got the run game going. I think this could be a top. I don't know if I'm ready to say top 5, but definitely a top, say 6 or 8 defensive unit overall as far as yards are allowed. I think Vic Fangio, they're giving their head coaches a bit of patience. I believe this is his 3rd year with the team. So it's really given him a chance to kind of build that culture, and they seem like they're going to be a tough team to play with. I don't know if they're a real contender either, similar to the Panthers, but they're certainly a tough team to play against.
Yeah, we will find out this week when they do travel to Arrowhead and play the Chiefs. So I actually had the Broncos as a sleeper team this year, kind of backing their way into the playoffs. So seeing them up there kind of makes my pick not so bad and not so scary, right? So coming in at number 13, you do have the Dallas Cowboys after a big win in LA.
Yes,
Talk about that.
Yeah, I think it was a good win. Even the first week they were competitive against the defending Super Bowl champions. I think it's all there for them. Dak Prescott, he's back from the injury. He doesn't look like he's got too many limitations. Tony Pollard, how about him with a 100-yard rushing game and just about 11 carries, I think. So that was pretty impressive. They've got a nice receiving core. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper. I think Micah Parsons has a chance to be Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was flying all over the field. They
Yep.
have him lining up in a lot of different spots on the field, which is kind of cool to see. And I think they did enough to the secondary, Buck, that they're able to be maybe somewhere in the middle of the league. And if they could be, say, a top 6 or 8 or top 5 even offense, this is going to be a playoff team, and very likely it'll be the NFC East division winner.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny that you bring up Tony Pollard because I think Mike McCarty is learning that he has a 1-2 punch uh, in the back with Zeke and Tony, kind of like a thunder and lightning type of thing here.
Yeah.
So coming in at number 12, who do you got?
So I got a couple. One of the teams that plummeted, we talked about them a little bit earlier, is the Seattle Seahawks. It seemed like they had the game in hand against Tennessee. They were headed for a 2-0 start. And if they had done so, you would have had 4 teams in the NFC West. We've talked about this a little bit with Tori at 2-0. Obviously, they couldn't finish the job. Russell Wilson had a couple of shaky moments. The defense didn't look great at times. They gave up a ton of rushing yards, like I was saying, to King Henry. So that caused them to take a bit of a tumble this week. Still a top 12 team. I still think this is a playoff team. But with them being now the 4th best team as far as record in that division, it was tough for me to have them be in the top 10.
Yeah, so strange fact here is every time the Seattle Seahawks go 1-1 and they lose week 2, they make it to the Super Bowl. So kind of just throwing it out there. So every time they've made it to the Super Bowl in the last, I think it's like 20 years or whatever it was, they won week 1 and they lost week 2. So maybe this is a Super Bowl bound year for the Seahawks. So coming in at number 11, you do have the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they dropped a lot, and this was even before the big news came out that Big Ben tore his pec and may not be ready for Sunday. So talk a little bit about your number 11 pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I had a bit of a tough time with this. I think I may have ranked them a bit too high, following their impressive Week 1 win over the Bills. It wasn't a terrible loss, but it was their home opener. They lost by 9 to the Raiders, who a lot of people, they're not sure how good they're going to be. They had some really nice moments over the last couple seasons, and they always seem to kind of blow it when the the stakes are at their highest, if you will. So I think I had them ranked too high. I didn't want to kill them too much for this loss, but it was a bit of a setback. And we've seen the Steelers' backup quarterbacks over the last few years. Mason Rudolph does nothing to get me excited, other
Right.
than get a helmet thrown at him or whatever, or possibly make a racist remark. We don't know if he did that, but he's just not an exciting player. And if they have to go to him for a game or two, that's going to be some tough sledding for them. Also, I haven't been terribly impressed with the rookie running back, Najee Harris, out of Alabama. So he hasn't had a ton of yards. He had a nice stiff arm, but I
Yeah.
really thought he would be a bit more productive so far.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of like OBJ. Like people hyped him up for that one big catch, and really all Harris has done was a stiff arm and then a dive into the end zone. Other than that, he hasn't been a whole lot. So on the flip side of that coin, the Steelers do have Dwayne Haskins still as a quarterback as well. So maybe
You're right.
he could,
Yep.
I don't know, find his footing there in Pittsburgh. I don't know, but who do you got coming in at number 10? This is where all the fun starts.
Yeah, it sure does. And this has been, I think, the most fun team in the NFL so far, and perhaps the most fun player. The Arizona Cardinals, I'm talking about Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start the Kyler Murray for MVP campaign right now.
Wow.
400 yards passing. I know he had a couple interceptions in this game, but this guy could do it all. To me, he's like Lamar Jackson, kind of like 2.0, but he's not running around looking to run, although he can do that. He's keeping his eyes downfield. He had that really impressive throw on the run to Rondale Moore, about at least 50 yards in the air.
Yeah.
Really a sight to behold. I really like the look of this team. They didn't have necessarily a huge, impressive win over the Minnesota Vikings. That was a game they were expected to win. They just about lost. They had to get the Minnesota always blows the kicks at the end of the game, right? So that happened again,
Yeah.
and they were the beneficiary of that. But I like what I've seen so far. I think they've done enough, and they've been a really fun team, one of the more explosive teams, to merit a spot in the top 10, albeit at number 10.
Yeah, so a comment came in here, said hashtag too soon. So you are buying the Cardinals a little too soon, he says. So Damien, maybe not. So we will we will see moving forward here. I'm not sure who the Cards play next week. I don't have their schedule in front of me, but we are consistently talking about how great the NFC West is. And then at number 9, you have another NFC West team coming in there. Who do you got?
Yeah, that's right. San Francisco 49ers. A lot of people would probably say, well, you got to have them maybe in the top 6 or 7 or even in the top 5. To me, they beat the Eagles 17-11. Not a terribly impressive win. And against an opponent who really isn't in a very high standings as far as my rankings are concerned right now. I still think this is a team that can go far. I think the defense is looking a lot like it did a couple years ago. Um, Excuse me, if Jimmy G can stay healthy, you know he's gonna be productive, but that's been the main question throughout
Right.
his career. He has a hard time staying on the field. So I just moved them up to 1 spot. You'll find that's a bit of a trend, with teams that are ranked high that get wins over lower ranked opponents. I usually don't wanna move them up too high, especially if they are, in that top 10. You really gotta earn your spot in my top 5.
Yeah, yeah, just to throw some facts out there, is you do have the Eagles at 21 in your power rankings, and you guys would already know that if you're following us on Twitter. Be sure to follow him at Bus Wallace on the Twitter machine.
Yes,
So
sir.
the one thing that concerns me about the 49ers, like a little bit, is I think they're going to stick to that two quarterback system, and I think that ultimately is going to hurt them in the end. Be more hurtful than beneficial. Maybe Jimmy G might be able to be healthy for 17 games, but on the flip side, you're never going to really have a rhythm and maybe a 9-8 season. But only time will tell. Who do you got coming in at number 8?
Just real quick, I think the 2 quarterback system could keep defenses off balance conversely, but
Okay.
I know what you're saying. Number 8, I got the Cleveland Browns. They were able to come up with their first win of the season. Again, not a terribly impressive win over the Houston Texans. I thought Houston battled in this game, but they did enough to win. It's a big thing to get your first win of the season. Um, I think this team definitely still has high hopes. I do think they're a dark horse, Super Bowl contender. And it's kind of all there for them, but they're going to have to beat some better teams in order to kind of inch their way up towards that top spot.
So let me go totally off topic here, just for a second.
Sure.
Do you think people are maybe sleeping on the Texans a tad bit just because Desha- Deshaun Watson isn't their starting quarterback, and maybe the team has like a chip on their shoulder with something to prove, like hey, there's another 51 guys here, just not one,
Yeah, people were talking about the Houston Texans roster as if it was like, the expansion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like one of the worst rosters in NFL history.
Right.
And I don't really see it. I see a team that's been maybe they don't have big name guys or whatever, but Tyrod Taylor has proven himself to be a solid quarterback. Certainly not a top flight starting quarterback, but he definitely be one of the better backups. And he led the Buffalo Bills to the playoffs a few years ago with a 9-7 record. He throws a good deep ball. He's an athletic guy. I know he's had some bad luck and he wasn't able to stay on the field either. We saw Davis Mills in at the quarterback. He's very green. I think we're going to see that tomorrow night. They're playing in the Thursday night game against Carolina. He didn't get a lot of starts under his belt in college football. So that's the part that kind of concerns me. I think Tyrod Taylor was the perfect guy to kind of veteran presence to kind of steer the ship. Um, I don't know how much that gets you, the whole us against the world. If you do have a roster that's not as talented as the others, I think it's going to be a long season in Houston. But so far, they've impressed me. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars by 16 points, and then they lost to Cleveland by 10 points in a game they were competitive almost throughout.
Yeah.
So, pretty good start for the Texans.
All right, so just a recap of the top 10 here. At number 10, he has the Arizona Cardinals. At number 9, he has the San Francisco 49ers. Number 8, he has the Cleveland Browns. Who you got coming in at number 7?
So, I was about to take a drink there.
Oh,
A
sorry.
little too fast for me. That's okay. So number 7, I got the Green Bay Packers, another kind of bounce back team. I got to give you the gears a little bit here. You were calling a Detroit Lions victory on Monday night. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you
That was
did.
very, very bold of you. But hey, it looked like it was going to happen. I was sitting there at halftime and I was like,
Yeah.
Detroit Lions have played a heck of a first half. They put themselves in a position to win. Unfortunately, they were shut out in the second half, and Rodgers kind of put it together. He looked pretty impressive out there to me.
He
It
did.
was also revealed that his hair is for some kind of Halloween costume, so we'll have to stay tuned for that for another month or so. That's some real commitment by Rodgers. So, that's a game that they had to win. But they did win it. So you'll see the trend here of just good teams I have moving up one spot because they beat lousy teams.
Yeah, so the Packers definitely look like a top 10 team because obviously the Detroit Lions are a very, very good team. They just got a bad draw here the first few weeks of the season. So Cardinals at 10, 49ers at number 9, Browns at 8, Packers coming in at number 7. Number 6, you got another big riser here. Who do you got?
I got the
Oh man.
Raiders. I got to say, Buck, I struggled with this.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest and peeling the curtain back, I actually had them a couple spots higher, but I just couldn't do it in good faith. I don't think they're better than some of those teams I have above them. But simply put, there's not a team that's had a more impressive start to the season than the Las Vegas Raiders. They beat the Baltimore Ravens on Monday night, came back to win that game, forced a couple of fumbles by Lamar Jackson. And then they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I had as my fourth ranked team, albeit maybe I did have them ranked a little bit high, but they beat them by 9 points. This was not a last second touchdown or
Right.
anything. Derek Carr threw for almost over 300 yards in the second half. So this is very impressive. I don't know if they can do it for a whole season. That's not what I'm saying right now. But as of this moment, they look like a top 6 team. That's why I have them ranked there. I don't know if they'll be there at the end of the season, but they look mighty impressive so far.
Yeah, we were actually talking about the Raiders a little bit earlier, and every time people start to buy stock into the Raiders, I think then their stock goes down, down, down. But like you said, only time will tell. But what is also more impressive about that Pittsburgh Steelers win is this was a 1 o'clock game on the East Coast, so they traveled coast to coast and they played that early games, which is like 10 o'clock their time, and they put it to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's just be flat out honest. The Steelers did not look good in that game at all, and the Raiders were clicking on all cylinders. So that gives us 5 teams left here in the top 5.
All right.
You have the Chiefs, Rams, Bucks, Bills, and Ravens left to kind of shuffle them up and put them in some type of order.
You got it.
So who do you got coming in at number 5?
Okay, number 5, I think the most impressive win of week 2, Baltimore Ravens. It was a fantastic game there on Sunday Night Football. Chiefs seemed like they had the game in hand. Mahomes was going down for a sack. He threw a really dumb interception. He tried to get it to Kelsey. He couldn't quite get enough on it. Ravens got the interception, and to me, the game completely changed at that point in time. I really love what I saw out of Lamar Jackson. The jump pass, he had over 100 yards rushing. He also had well over 200 yards passing, which a lot of people think that's a part of his game he needs to develop.
Right.
I like what I've seen out of the defense. Owe, the rookie, he didn't have a lot of production at Penn State, but he made a humongous play with the sack and recovery of Clyde Edwards-Helaire to kind of seal that victory. And then, of course, there's the fourth down gamble. I wouldn't really call it a gamble. They had to go for it there. John Harbaugh, should we go for it? Hell yeah, we should go for it. So I love what I saw out of the Ravens. A really good bounce back win for them after the tough loss on the opening Monday night game against the Raiders.
So who is your NFL team? Like, do you have an NFL team?
I do. I've been kind of keeping it close to the vest, but I'm a Buffalo Bills fan.
Okay. So let's say you are a Buffalo Bills fan, and they're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's 4th and 1, and you're up 36-35, and you elect not to go for it on 4th down, and you punt the ball away, and the Chiefs come down and score. Are you going to be upset with your coach at that point in time?
Well, I think I would be, because if you're punting the ball back to Mahomes, you're asking for something bad to happen.
There was
'Cause
one
this
timeout
guy's
left, like 30 seconds, I think it was, or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess it was a dicey call by Harbaugh, but it just shows how much confidence and faith he has in his guy Lamar Jackson. He said, "Do you want to go for it?" And that's been all over the
Yeah.
internet over the last few days, and I thought that was a really cool moment. He did that a couple of years ago against the Seattle Seahawks. Same thing. Should we go for it? Do you want to go for it here with the game on the line? I think I would be a little bit ticked off, because if you have a chance to win the game, you have to take that chance. Now, sometimes you might want to take it with your defense or your special teams or whatever, but you want to line up there and drive it down their throat and kind of take their will away
Yeah.
to win the football game.
Yeah,
And
that is the biggest knock of the Kansas City Chiefs is their run defense. Absolutely horrible, and we saw it. Lamar Jackson was slicing and dicing them the whole 4th quarter, and It was
Yep.
pissing me off, to be flat out honest. I'm like, how can you guys not stop this? You know it's coming. How can you not stop it? But just to recap, at 10, you have the Cardinals. 9, you have the 49ers. Number 8, you have the Cleveland Browns. Number 7, you have the Green Bay Packers. Go, Pack, go, as my wife is making me say. 6 are the Raiders. 5, you have the Ravens. Who do you got coming in at number 4?
I got my Buffalo Bills. A very impressive 35 to nothing shutout victory
Flex on
over the
them.
Miami Dolphins. And I saw a stat I thought was really cool. I'm going to throw it out right now. It was their largest shutout victory over Miami since 1966.
Wow.
These are division rivals for over 50 years, so that's really impressive. I like what I saw to Josh Allen. Still, he missed a couple passes that he normally does, but I saw what I needed to see. Devin Singletary with that long touchdown run to open the scoring in the first quarter, and the pass rush was all over Tagovailoa and then Jacoby Brissett throughout the entire afternoon. Gregory Rousseau, who's the first round draft pick, they kind of took a bit of a flyer on him late in the first round. People weren't sure if he was going to be a bust or not. He's looked really good. And AJ Epinesa, who was a second round pick out of Iowa a couple of years ago, they both flashed in this game. And they look like the Super Bowl contender that I kind of had them pegged as coming into the season.
Yeah, so that leaves us with 3 teams here. And team number 3 is you do have the Kansas City Chiefs. I already see people on the Twitter machine saying that how in the hell can you have the Ravens below the Chiefs? So how can you have the Ravens below the Chiefs when the Chiefs are coming in at number 3?
Yeah, I understand that, but people gotta understand that, I had the Ravens as my number 12 team last week. I moved them up 7 spots. I thought that was very I thought that was, I don't wanna say generous, but I think that's what they deserve. If Kansas City and Baltimore line up and play 8 more times, I think Kansas City probably wins 6 of them. I think Kansas City's still a better team. Is their run defense a little leaky? Yeah, it is.
A little leaky, a lot
But
leaky.
yeah, a lot leaky. It might not tighten up until you said maybe week 12 or 13. They always seem to work like that. Um, but I have a lot of faith in Mahomes still. Like I was saying, they had this game in hand. He did something he almost never does. He threw a really stupid pass, and that really turned the tide of this game. So I get what people are saying. How can you have a team ahead of another team that they just beat? I usually play by that kind of same logic, but I have the Chiefs as like a surefire, Super Bowl contender, whereas I have Baltimore more as a, dark horse pick. I still think Lamar Jackson has some things to prove when it comes to the playoffs. 1-3 career record in the playoffs, and he was 0-3 coming into this game when he was face to face with Mahomes. So I really like the Ravens. I like their running game. Tyson Williams and company are getting the job done. Well over 200 yards rushing. I like them a lot. I just like the Chiefs a little bit better.
Yeah, so I totally agree with you 100%. Like when you have the Chiefs at 2 and then the Ravens at 12 last week, man, you really can't just flip flop them because that's just not the way the rankings work there, gentlemen. So recap the top 10 before we give us our top 2 here of the NFL Power Rankings by at Bus Wallace himself on Twitter. You had the Cards at 10, Niners at 9, the Browns at number 8, the Packers at 7, the Raiders at number 6, the Baltimore Ravens at number 5, your Buffalo Bills at 4, Kansas City Chiefs at number 3. Coming in at number 2, who do you got?
I got the Los Angeles Rams. It was kind of an up and down win for them over the Indianapolis Colts. They were up. They had the weird snap on the punt there to Johnny Hecker and ended up being a touchdown for the Colts. I think Colts kind of showed some life in this game. They're still pretty far down in my rankings, but Rams kind of had to fight back to win this game. Cooper Cup had a really nice performance. Stafford wasn't as impressive as he was in that first week against the Bears. Obviously, Colts are a little bit better than the Bears, I think, but I think they did enough to get into that top 2. I still really like this defense. Sean McVay seems like he's reinvigorated with this new quarterback, and I definitely think they have a chance to go all the way.
Yeah, and then obviously coming in at number 1, you do have the Tampa Bay Bucks. I mean, to be the best, you got to beat the best, and right now the Bucks are the best. But the Rams and Bucks face off this week, so could we see some flip flopping here? You think if the Rams beat the Bucks?
I think it's definitely possible. Bucks look mighty impressive. They had I think Edwards with two pick sixes in one game. That hasn't
Yeah.
happened in quite some time. I feel obviously the offense is going at full capabilities as well. Brady with 9 touchdowns already. I believe he had 5 on Sunday. But if the Rams win that game and they win it in impressive fashion, I definitely think they can move into that top spot. But obviously, you'll have to tune in next week to see.
Right. So do you have any questions about the Bucks offense though? Because I mean, like the Falcons were battling with them for 3 quarters, and then obviously the fourth quarter they opened the floodgates on them because typical Atlanta Falcons fashion, they only played 3 quarters. Uh,
Yeah.
is there any concern like with that, like with the Bucks at all?
I think it's really hard. I'd be really nitpicking here. I think they got an interception about midway through the third quarter that really helped them pull away. And then I saw Atlanta starting to battle back, and I'm like, wait a second, maybe the Falcons aren't as bad as I thought they were. But like you said, fourth quarter they completely fell apart.
Yeah.
I'd be really be nitpicking if I tried to poke many holes in this team. My main thing is, you've got Gronkowski, you got Antonio Brown, Godwin, Evans. Is there enough, to spread the ball around? But it seems like there's no real big egos, even though there is a lot of high profile players on
Right.
this offense. I think Brady is going to be the captain of this team, as is obvious, and he's going to make sure everyone kind of like gets fed, if you will.
Yeah, you are